Welcome to Connected for Good, a community conversation that celebrates Loudoun County's changemakers. I'm Matt Bender, Director of Community Engagement at the Community Foundation for Loudoun and Northern Fauquier Counties. Connected for Good is made possible through a grant from the Claude Moore Charitable Foundation, and I'm here with Stephanie Narantzis, Director of Giving for Claude Moore.
Today we're speaking with Lisa Max, CEO of the Arc of Loudoun, a leader who has guided her organization with courage and compassion during one of the most challenging moments in its history. 2025 was pretty much a make-or-break year. But her leadership journey has taken her from cybersecurity and technology to the nonprofit sector, where she now oversees programs that support nearly 5,000 people with disabilities each year.
We're thrilled to talk with Lisa today about her unexpected path to the Arc and the leadership lessons that she's learned while guiding her team through adversity and toward renewed strength.
Lisa, welcome to Connected for Good.
Thank you so much. Absolutely delighted to be here.
To start us off, could you share a bit about your journey from the world from cybersecurity and identity management to becoming the CEO of Loudoun? It's interesting because this is our third episode, and in each of the other episodes, there's, the individuals came from an IT security industry background to the nonprofit sector. So I'm really interested of how you ended up being the CEO of ARC, and was it the money that was the attraction? Was it a less stressful job? Do share.
I have to chuckle at both of those. So I will say that I am a self-described pathological volunteer. So yes, my paid career was in technology all the way through, but I have always been a volunteer. I've started nonprofits, I've served on multiple boards, I've always paid forward and given back. I am an incredibly privileged person, and I am very aware of that, and I have always felt that it's about what you do for whom, especially when nobody is looking. So it was just sort of a natural progression. I've been on the board for the Loudoun County Medical Reserve Corps since, 2008, for a very long time. And several years ago, we had a flu shot clinic, and it was a really long day, and it was exhausting and exhilarating and all of those things. And I got home and just felt great. And the next day went to work, and we won a contract, which is a really big deal and a really good day. And at the end of the day, I thought, why did I feel so much better after a day of volunteering than I did, at a really good day of work? So I asked Lynn Tadlock to lunch.
Oh, wow.
So this is all Lynn's fault, or to Lynn's credit. Right? So we had a conversation about, when do you make that move and what does it feel like, and so on and so on and so forth. And as we were walking out to our car, she said, I think the Arc of Loudoun is going to be looking for somebody soon. I don't know if you want to consider that because, there's some work that needs to be done, but, just to let you know. And 2 days later, the requisition showed up in my inbox, and in many respects, the rest is history, because if you tell me that there are problems that need to be solved, it's catnip. I love to be able to help.
Wow. Well, that's a great story, and I did not know that Lynn. Does Lynn know that she was kind of the driver behind your, getting you?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think it was coincidental at all that the requisition was sent to my personal email when it was.
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
Lisa, when we spoke the other day, you mentioned that running a nonprofit does require complex, business know-how, so to speak, strategic, financial, operational oversight. So I guess my question is, what does strong business-minded leadership look like in the nonprofit sector for you and at the ARC?
So one of my soapbox issues is that a nonprofit definitely benefits from the tax benefits of the tax incentives. And it's, of course, really cool that you can go after contributed revenue, where I call it social profit as opposed to shareholder profit. Shareholder profit, your goal is all earned revenue. With social profit, your goals are earned revenue combined with contributed revenue. So, but all the rest of it is the same. It's a business. And no matter what products or services you're delivering, your business has to be well run. You've got to have a good solid footing, whether your financials are 10,000 a year or 10 billion a year. You have to have your financials on good footing. You have to have strong HR. You've got to have great management. You've got to be able to train people. And I say that in moving over to the Arc, I have the best job in the world as the CEO. And the reason for that is that my job is to understand what the smart people need. I'm not a teacher. I'm not a therapist. I'm not a social worker. I don't have any of that expertise. So I need to understand what they need. And I always really like to understand why they need it. And then my job is to get it for them and to get out of the way. So it's the best job in the world. I get to sit and watch literal miracles happen. A lot of the children that are in our Aurora school have really challenging behaviors because they're not able to communicate effectively. And I think about that.
I would imagine it's not just the child, but also the families that benefit from some of those, communication pro tips that are coming from your expertise.
Absolutely. But one of the things that, one of the other of many things that I really like to kind of touch on and talk about is the fact that everyone is one, has one, knows one. One what? A person with a disability. If you're really, really blessed and you live a long, healthy life, your disability may be very short at the end of your life, but at some point, everybody is going to have a disability of some kind and everybody's going to need help. And I would argue further that in any family, when there is any type of disability, there is a co-occurring economic disability. And almost always co-occurring mental health disabilities, those challenges related to anxiety, depression, fear, all of those things can really become overwhelming. Yeah, Eileen Schaefer, who second to none, you can never say enough good things about Eileen, and she runs our advocacy program and is all about the community connections. And so she'll be meeting with a family ostensibly to talk about one family member. This person has a diagnosed disability. We need help figuring out benefits, entitlements, so on and so forth. And as Eileen is having a conversation with them, it turns out that there are other challenges in the family as well. So if we're not supporting the entire family, if we're not doing everything that we can to help each of those family members, there's only so much that we're going to be able to do for the individual with a diagnosed disability, because it really is a family challenge.
A lot of what we like to talk about on this show is leadership. And I know, Lisa, I've talked to you, you want to move forward, but it's an amazing year that you've been through. And I don't think there's very many leaders who could have done what you did in the resilience, and everybody looking to you, from your employees to your executive staff to your donors to the community at large. It was a very public crisis that you went through. And for the listeners who don't know, I'll just say that you were, in my opinion, kind of unjustly, forced to vacate the property, the campus that you've been there. I don't, since what year? What year did you move on to the campus?
2008.
Yeah, so I've been your home for 2008, and it was a long battle. And I really kind of want you to talk about your leadership through that, how you dealt with it, how were your support systems, how you dealt with staff, what was it like to lead through that time and get them through? And I know that now that it's, you're past the crisis mode, but I don't think it's that simple for you and your staff just to say, okay, it's all behind us. It's not that simple. So I know I threw a lot of questions at you, but talk to that a little bit.
Sure, absolutely. Okay, so first and foremost, I am known as this super strong person and so on and so forth. And let me tell you about the number of times that I allowed myself to totally lose it. Our staff is wonderful, our board is wonderful, But there was one day in particular that I came in on, because from July 15th until the beginning of November, I was working all the time, weekends, everything else. And to move the school as quickly as possible, I came in early on a Sunday to paint and had a total meltdown. And so I think that's a big part of what leaders need to allow themselves to do is it's okay to fall apart. It's okay to share. So first and foremost, everybody says take care of yourself. What that looked like for me was allowing myself to break down a couple of times. Whatever that might look like for somebody else, you have to give yourself grace that what you're doing is really, really hard and it's scary and it's unfair and it's all of those things. But let yourself lose it, and then you got to just pick yourself up and keep moving.
I want to ask you, did you ever once consider, like, I don't need to be doing this, like, I don't want to do this anymore? And did you ever consider giving up and quitting?
So yeah, that's kind of not in my nature. So although I will freely admit that when the bomb first dropped, I asked the board to fire me because I arrogantly believed, it felt so personal, that I arrogantly believed that if they took me out of the mix, maybe there would be a change of heart and this wouldn't be happening. And the board did make some inquiries and found out that in addition to the fact that they did not want to do that and they did not feel that that was a good thing to do for anybody, it would not have made a difference in the overall outcome. So other than, if you guys need to fire me, I understand, there was no way I was going to quit through the middle of this.
Fighting till the end.
Yeah, that's just sort of my nature. But lead by example, lead with integrity. Don't be afraid to say you don't know something. Make the best decisions that you can with the information you have at the time. And then most especially when new information is available, it's okay to change your mind. It's okay to admit, hey, I never knew that. And now that I know that, I know we have to go a different way. But to hop back to connections, that makes all the difference in the world. Being able to call John Walsh, President GM at NCC, and say, oh my gosh, help. We already knew that we were moving the fitness center here. We already had a lease signed and so on and so forth. And it was like, hey, John, can we add, another 18,000 square feet by any chance? And John and his entire staff and the owners of the complex were like, yeah, absolutely. Let's get this done. How can we help? Funding, I can never say enough about having donors, having grantors, having people in the community that trusted us, that the Arc was still a worthy investment, that it was going to look different, but that it was going to, rise like a phoenix. And it did. And when all was said and done, the school was closed for just 18 days. It's 18 very long days.
That is something.
And we are making those 18 days up over the remainder of the year through the end of June by, we had to take back some of the holidays and so on and so forth. And the staff understands that and appreciates that.
So you really did move mountains, which you couldn't have done without almost everyone, all the community partners needed to cooperate. One kink in the chain could really have created a lot of delays. So talk a little bit about leading now. I know the staff was, I don't use this word lightly, traumatized. I mean, for months, many months, not knowing if the Arc was going to be in business, now being shut down, having it be a public. So how's the staff now? Is it just like, okay, everything's merry and great, or are they still kind of dealing with that? And how are you as a leader dealing with them?
So, understanding and appreciating that it is absolutely a collective trauma. It's not melodramatic to say that, and it would be folly not to admit that. So making sure that we've got counseling available to work individually with staff that want to have private conversations, and then in a communal way as well.
I just keep thinking about how complicated all of this had to be, because you have ability fitness, ally advocacy, early intervention. How many people do you serve at any given time?
We average about 5,000 people a year throughout the DC region, so it's a pretty widespread. And the fitness center is amazing. We were able to almost quadruple the amount of space that we had. So the ability to add a pediatric program to AFC, we couldn't have done that if we stayed on that campus. And now we've got that up and running. This is a temporary location.
So I want to touch on that. So what are your plans?
So we're working with attorneys, we're working with engineers, we're working very closely with the county. And the real goal is to be able to move into space that will allow us to bring back all of our early intervention, reopen the preschool, reopen the clinic. So we're working on that. And we do have a couple of irons in the fire.
So as I listen to the story, I think kind of taking it back to leadership, just the number of people that you have to work with and stay connected with and obviously you have to keep your employees motivated and on the right path and let them feel the compassion that they need because they've been through a lot. But you have to keep up this network of people that you really depend on to help you, get in the space you're in, remain in the space you're in, and then to move forward is just... it's very community-based.
There's no question. That whole...
You're not exactly sitting in your office just kind of running your organization. You're out there.
You have to be. You have to be. And that saying, it takes a village, you have to have a village. In Loudoun, that is unbelievably true. And I have to say, we've got the best village. So,
And you're about to lead the village in some ways. Loudoun Human Services Network, I understand you're taking over the chair of that, which is a wonderful thing because, I know the Loudoun Human Services Network is made of nonprofits. Some of them, those leaders are seasoned leaders, others are not. But the fact that you're there to bring them together, and when you alone are such a mentor and can be such a mentor, not just through times of crisis, but in all times.
Yeah, thanks. And I love doing that. That's kind of my favorite thing, is making the connections and mentoring and assisting and always being able to, if I can't help, I can point to somebody.
Wow. Good job. That's all I can say.
Yeah, seriously. Lisa, when you can kind of take a step back away from all of the challenges, your day-to-day business, what does leading the Arc of Loudoun mean to you personally?
Probably the first part of it is making sure that people know that we're here and making sure that they know that help is available. When I first came into the Arc, I expanded our definition of disability. The Arc of the United States, which is a membership organization, we are a member of the Arc of the US, and they are very intently focused on intellectual and developmental disabilities. That's wonderful. It's unusual for somebody to not have any other co-occurring disabilities. Again, mental health, it could be economic disability, whatever that is. So I broadened, with great board and staff support, our definition of disability. And then we looked at our vision and our mission and pared them down. One sentence: we advocate for, educate, serve, and support people with disabilities and their families. What do we want overall? We want a just, equitable world for people with disabilities. So that is really the primary purpose of my job, is to be out there, to make sure that people know who we are and what we do, and to make sure that anybody that's either looking to come in as a client or a student, where it's going to be a pay-for-service situation, and certainly any grantors or donors, anybody that's looking to contribute revenue, I need to make sure that we're a good investment. I need to make sure that financially I can prove that we're on strong footing. And it's really scary when you're not. And I can prove that we've got some really low turnover. And even though we've got high burnout jobs, we've got staff that have been with the Arc for many, many years. And again, I would argue that this is the job of a CEO in any business. make sure that you're a great investment. Make sure that things are working well, that you have the right people in the right jobs, and then make sure that people know you're here.
That's one thing I always hear about people saying, you got to run an organization like you would, a business. And sometimes I think, if only I could, like if only it was that easy. Don't get me wrong, I'm very pro-business, but at least in a business, you have a product to sell. Sometimes it's a harder pitch. Hey, if you give us money, it's going to make you feel really good, and that that can be that's a tough sell. I think it's a harder sell.
Yeah, but it's actually an easy sell from the perspective of, what am I selling? Hope.
Mm-hmm.
I'm selling healing. I'm
To the right audience.
miracles.
That is true.
Yeah, that makes a difference. We sell hope, we sell healing, we sell miracles.
That is good. Your board of directors is a huge part in the success of getting you where you are. So just very briefly, tell me about board management from a CEO perspective, going through a difficult time or crisis, like 2 or 3 takeaways, nuggets, for doing that.
Okay, takeaway 1, transparency. When you're doing everything, it's really hard to remember that you have to tell people what you're doing. Mm-hmm. They're not just going to know that. So transparency, really good lesson learned. Just because I know it doesn't mean the board does. And then once you realize, okay, you got to communicate better, ask for help. Ask very specifically for help. Very concrete asks. And really what it comes down to in the third thing is make sure that you're listening. When somebody tells you that they are concerned, that you're not doing a great job, that you need to share more, or you need to do things differently, you have to be willing to take that. Look at it as constructive criticism, swallow your pride, try not to get too defensive, which is absolutely one of my many faults, but just making sure you're really working hard together.
That's very good advice.
Lisa, thank you so much. And before we close out here today, are there any upcoming events that you'd like to share, or would you like to share with the audience where they could find more information about the Arc of Loudoun?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. So we would love for people to go to our website. It's www.thearcofloudoun.org, TheArcofLoudoun.org, and you'll be able to get all the information you need about us on that website. You'll be able to see all of the upcoming events and all about our programs and so on and so forth. We are now based at the National Conference Center Drive in Leesburg, and we are always standing by to help in any way that we can. We would love for you to go to our website and sign up to get our newsletter, and that way you won't miss anything exciting that's coming up, because there's a lot of great stuff coming up. Our resource fair and our breakfast. We do a lot of mental health first aid training and so on and so forth. So yeah, jump in. It's going to be a lot of fun.
So Matt has some really heavy questions for you.
Yeah, not so much. We're going to lighten it up a little bit here. Unless, Lisa, there was anything else that you thought maybe we missed that you wanted to touch on.
Well, as you both know, I can talk forever, so we'll let it go there.
Okay, all right. So we do have a rapid fire question segment now. Just 3 quick questions. First and foremost, what is your favorite Loudoun community event?
Ooh, I'm going to say the LCPS Science and Engineering Fair.
Cool.
I love that event.
Yeah, that's fun. All right. Favorite place in Loudoun to get a cup of coffee?
Probably Goose Cup. They make a great lavender latte.
Mm.
And lastly, the one must-see place in Loudoun if you're visiting from out of town.
Man, one is really hard. I'm going to go with Dodona Manor, because the history there is, and the world-changing history that was made there is just really very, very impressive.
All right. Well, again, Lisa, thank you so much for being here today and sharing your insight, sharing your experiences, and for your leadership within our community. I also want to say thank you to our listeners and remind everyone that every act of generosity, every partnership, and every story of connection strengthens the community that we share. Follow and subscribe wherever you listen, and until next time, stay connected for good.
Powered by Pounce Solutions.